Good morning, dude bros. How we doing?
Good morning,
Doing
sir.
great. Happy
Ah.
belated Halloween.
Yeah, no kidding, man. Those kids wore me out last night, but here we are.
Indeed.
We got a big day of football. Got some big games. Got some not so big games, but I think there's going to be a couple good ones in here. Uh, what do you guys think? We got something good coming, or is this going to be kind of one of those meh weeks?
Well, you got a handful of games that are absolutely going to be critical games.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them not so much, but I mean, I would love to be disappointed. I would love to see some standout team that nobody really is counting on coming out. I'd like to see an NC State pull an incredible upset today. That'd be a good one.
Yeah,
And,
I
of
believe.
course, Ohio State needs to lose, but if only Penn State could lose also.
I loved that on the stream earlier this week when you dropped that. It's like, in a perfect world, both teams would lose. But, I mean,
And I figure with the way the officiating has gone the last few years, that's not necessarily out of the realm of possibility.
I award you no points, and may God have mercy on you.
I'm going to go ahead and put 7 points on your opponent's game next week. So start with the handicap.
Well, for everybody that doesn't know, this is our pregame show. We like to get in before everybody else starts talking, give you our thoughts on the big games. There's 6 big ones we typically like to look at. If there's more, we'll do more. If there's less, we'll try to do what we can with what we got. But, dude, you're talking a lot about Ohio State. Why don't you start us out on that Penn State-Ohio State game?
Well, over under 43.5 point line, I think 20.5.
Yep.
And I mean, I really wish there was a way they both could lose, but that is what it is. It will be broadcast on Fox. So this will be one of the games that if you got to talk about something on Monday, this is one of the games you want to catch because people who watch college football, more of them are going to watch this than are not going to watch it. So it's a relevant game in the whole social sphere. A lot of people are saying, hey, Penn State's unranked now. Maybe they deserve to be ranked up there. They've had a really good – no, they haven't. And then you have Ohio State, who is ranked number 1. And I will say, as someone who is a pretty adamant non-Buckeye, they have a very solid squad this year. I do not know if I would put them as the number 1, but I would absolutely put them in my top 4.
Mm-hmm.
They absolutely deserve that playoff spot. They absolutely deserve to have their run. And I'm excited to see this. I do not think they are going to cover 3 touchdowns up on Penn State, but I do see them winning this one.
Right on. What about you, GB?
Well, Penn State is still scrambling from the firing of James Franklin 3 weeks ago, and the candidate pool is still open since rumored picks like Nebraska head coach Matt Rule and Cignetti at Indiana are already signing updated contracts with their current universities. And in the meantime, interim coach Terry Smith has his hands full this week against the supposed number 1 team in the country, as the dude just mentioned. And I say supposed only because Ohio State has not played a close game since week 1 against Texas, who since then has been exposed. And with teams like Indiana and Texas A&M touting impressive wins for the season, I find it really hard to believe that the Buckeyes, as the dude has already mentioned, have deserved that number 1 spot. And with that said, I have no doubt that they're going to win today at home against a struggling Nittany Lion team that is 0-4 in conference play. So I got Ohio State winning. They do not cover, but I do have it going.
What are they, Auburn?
Hey, they got that 1 conference win last week, okay? 1 conference win. Maybe 2 today if we're lucky, okay?
I kid.
Yeah, well, I'm inclined to agree with most of what you guys are saying. The only thing I'm different on is I think they really come out here and drag Penn State. Ohio State is a very good team on both sides of the ball. Even their special teams are phenomenal. Ryan Day's got a hair up his ass because everybody was talking all the crap about last year. Did they deserve to win it? They won it regardless. Doesn't matter. And they're showing out this year. They're showing that they've got a good team. That defense is very good. Very, very good. That front 7 is just, I'd say, one of the top 2, 3 in the country. They do not give up anything, man. So I think it's going to be a tough day of sledding for Penn State. James Franklin's gone. Apparently he's headed to Tech. Saw some hubbub about that. And like GB said, this team is just reeling, man. They don't know who they are. Their quarterback's gone. It's a whole bunch of bad this season for them. So I'll be surprised if they get a good bowl game at this point, and that's just my personal opinion. So we'll see what happens today. I think they absolutely cover the 20.5. I think Ohio State comes out there, takes care of business, and by the fourth quarter, you got backups in. I think it's an over game, and I just think this is not even one of those ones where there's even an inkling where you think Penn State is going to have a chance to win this game. So that's my humble opinion. I just don't see a lot with the Nittany Lions, and it's sad for them because at the beginning of this year they were one of the big teams everybody was talking up, and they might actually finally make a playoff run. And hey, is this their natty year? And it has just all unraveled in a dramatic fashion. So not much to say else about that. They're on Fox, early game, and I think this one's going to be over pretty quickly. So, but it is what it is. You can't win them all, and every year can't be your year. And as long as Ohio State doesn't win another national championship, I'll be fine.
Before we move on, any thoughts on either Sayan or Smith for Heisman? Are either of them still on y'all's radar for that?
I think there's only one at this point in time for me. I think realistically, Ty Simpson is standing out in the media. He has the most momentum behind him, although Mendoza is getting a lot of juice still. Mm-hmm. He's coming in there, which is interesting because if you want to really break it down and start looking at the numbers, if we're going by that, neither one of them are even in the top 10 of quarterbacks in college football. And really the most concerning stat I would say for Ty Simpson is the sack attribution that they give. And what they do is they factor out low value plays, but it's a predictive measure based on every time you as the quarterback get sacked, the other team is likely to get X amount of points. And Ty Simpson is in the top 5 quarterbacks for that. So every time that he gets sacked, that is attributed to the team that they are playing getting 12.1 points.
You got to love those kind of stats that they're able to dig into, right? That's impressive.
I mean, as an autist, yes.
Well, you got to think though, Ty Simpson, he's I believe he's like the most of all the good things. He's got the most of all the package. He can do all the stuff. He can run. He's got the pocket presence. He's very smart in that regard. He's got a very high QB index as far as where his head is. He understands the game. He's a student of the game, and I think he's only going to get better because of that.
Yeah, he's in the top category for number of touches in terms of being out there, being involved, bam, 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 which really highlights the pacing of the Alabama offense that you're getting there, saying that they're an offense that is bam, 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 bam. So he's not necessarily racking up the longest plays, not getting the most yards per throw, any of these stats, but he's out there, he's consistent, which also gives you stats like INT and makes that look a lot better when you're considering the number of times, the number of opportunities that somebody could have picked him compared to somebody else up, like say USC's Jaden Maeva or whatever. He's the number one right now in terms of total stats and all that. Right. But getting in the weeds here.
Well, let's keep it moving. We have another big game. I actually think this is probably going to be one of your best games of the day. You got Vanderbilt going into Texas. This one, I think this one could possibly be a shootout. There you go, talking about 2 former possible Heisman candidates. You got Diego, you got the Arch. I can't stress enough how sad I am that Arch got hurt and we didn't get a real good look at him this year. I feel like he's going to be talked badly about in the offseason, and a lot of that's because of how he performed. And, to be fair, you're going to get that when you play like that. But I don't think a lot of people are giving him enough credit for the injury he's been through and the fact that he's played through that pain, got the shots, got the whatevers, and he's gone out there and tried to do his thing. So it will be unfortunate when this one's all said and done, how the season's going to look. I hope he can, patch up and give us something next year. I think next year could really be a good run for him, especially if most of that team stays together. But there are going to be some draft picks pretty high off of that offensive line and that defense. So we'll see what happens next year for him. But as far as this year's concerned, I'll go ahead and say it. I've already taken Vandy to win the game. I do see this as an upset. The line is only 1.5 points. I don't know if that's going up or down a little bit. I haven't checked this morning, but I just don't see I don't see Texas being able to shut down anything Vandy's doing. I've watched a lot of Vandy football this year. I watched them play Bama, and the Bama
Line's at
game
three and a
was
half points. Sorry.
3.5 points. Okay, it's going up. I'm still taking Vandy to win. I think they absolutely win this game, and it's probably by a touchdown or so. Because if Vandy comes out in Texas and scores fast and gets going, like Forrest said in our pick show, I think this could get out of hand really quickly, and that's sad to say because you are in Texas. This should be a fans pumped up for helping that 12th man kind of mentality thing. But if Vandy comes out and starts doing their thing, they'll take them right out of the game. And if that's the case, there's going to be no juju's to pump into that team to try to rally and do anything here. So I do think Vandy comes out on top of this. I think that there's probably not a chance in hell that Texas has of winning this game. The Commodores are on fire. I've been talking up Diego all year. He's got a chip on his shoulders. He's finally cleaned up the off-field stuff. He was,
Theo Vaughn is a stepdaddy.
yeah. He's climbing that celebrity tier, one by one. But and I like what he does, man. He plays hard. He plays with heart, and that team is absolutely behind him. They know who the leader is. So
Yeah.
and on to that point, the coaches let him do his thing. The coach is obviously steering the ship, but he's letting Diego make adjustments, do what he needs to on the field, and I think that shows. So yeah, Texas no chance. I think it's an over game because Texas is going to have to score some points, and they're going to score some points. And I think that's the only reason that this goes over. So uh, we're on ABC. It's an early game. The things are just not adding up for Texas to be successful here. And I'd like to hear what GB's got to say about that.
Well, I think the question is about Arch Manning, right? And
Mm.
he earned some respect from me last week against their comeback win against Mississippi State because, he laid everything out and took that huge hit to get the first down in order to put them in the spot for the overtime win for Caldwell to go ahead and throw the touchdown pass that secured them the win. Now, that was the second week in the row that they scraped by with a on-the-road comeback, right?
Mm.
The week previous to that too. And then Mississippi State, who I had called to win, and they had every right to win, but unfortunately they started trying to not lose the last part of the rather than trying to solidify the win, which I was very disappointed in. But I think it really comes down to Caldwell for me. If Caldwell starts, I think this is going to be a different Texas team. I think Arch going down in the way that he did is a electrifying example that the Longhorns can get behind to try and get into behind Caldwell and try and do something with the rest of this season. Now, on the flip side with Vanderbilt, they're coming off a huge defensive win against Missouri last week, which we were thinking could possibly be a huge shootout, but ended up being a very tight game, only 27 points scored. They proved me that they're a very well-rounded team, Vanderbilt is, and that's on both sides of the ball too. And as I said, with Caldwell changing the dynamic. But finally, I'll just say for Vanderbilt, their only loss this season was against one particular team. Brian, do you know which? So the script seems to be saying that the Commodores will go win and they're going to continue on their once-in-a-lifetime season. But I think if Caldwell starts, Texas wins. They're at home. I think that the Longhorns will cover, even if it is 3.5 points, and it will be over. I think that if the powers that be are in play here, this is the game that Texas can come in and steal this away from Vanderbilt and be reminded of who Vanderbilt used to be, or it'll go the way that you gentlemen are saying, and you think that Vanderbilt's going to come out and Pavia is going to have himself a big game. But I would really like to see the Longhorns come out here and do something with a different quarterback and show a different side we haven't seen all season.
Well, Vegas seems to agree with you. So
that's the other key factor. They seem to be going that way, and that made me really do some pondering. So I think they're putting some stock in Caldwell.
I think Arch is definitely still not 100%, and once again, he's a young kid. We saw him, standing over a dude in the end zone and then walking that back in the press conference afterwards, saying his mommy was mad at him and stuff. He's not. I don't think he's quite polished enough to be at that level, to be in front of the cameras, to match what he's doing on the field, off the field, all that. I think maybe next year we'll get all those ducks in a row and see a good product out of him, but I don't necessarily think he's there right now. With Texas, as crazy as we'll say, coaching carousel has been this season so far, Sark, we started the season and he was I think number 4 highest buyout. So logic dictates that he's now going to be the next person that gets fired because Texas doesn't have a perfect season. I mean, that's how the only other people that have huge buyouts would be Kirby Smart, Ryan Day, DeBoer. I mean, because everybody else is either re-upped or got out of there. And truly interesting there. With Sark, there's a lot of questions. I know a lot of people were behind him. There was some initial opposition when he first came there.
Oh, yeah.
And it seems like there's more and more kind of whisperings that maybe he needs to go. And I also have it on good authority that he is meeting with an LSU individual this Sunday. So we could see something come out of it. I don't think so. I think that he'll at least be with Texas another season. But there is potential for that already to be moving about. That being said, I think there's just too many moving pieces at Texas, too many question marks. Vandy, they're coming off a lot of momentum. Pavia is playing the game. It's meant to be played. He's putting on $500,000 worth of diamonds and talking to Shannon Sharp and all of that. He's doing what he needs to do for the people who make the votes to see him and say that he is, the best quarterback or one of the best. And like I said, objectively speaking, you look at the numbers, he is 1 slot above Ty Simpson. I think they're 17 and 18 in terms of total QBR rankings and all that. But both solid quarterbacks, don't get me wrong. I think Vandy takes this, no question.
Yeah.
I just want to jump onto your
just
want to jump on your Sarkisian discussion just for a moment too. A lot of the rumors I saw come up this week too was he was possibly going to be going to the NFL. I think they finally came out and basically said that was AKA fake news, but interesting thought that if that rumor is spreading around in Texas, how does that affect the team going into the game today, knowing that there's a possibility that they're about to lose their head coach as well as their starting quarterback?
So I can respect, like Lane Kiffin, you have the same type situation. He's taken some meetings and all of that. I did happen to see a Snapchat video from a certain very cool linebacker in the Rebel squad. And Kiffin, to say words that I can say on air here, Kiffin basically said that he was letting everybody else play with his toy to keep their heads not in the right place, and that his head was in the right place. And that's the best way I can paraphrase that.
That's pretty good.
It was very funny, though, to see. I'll show it to you.
It's good stuff. Yeah, I don't think there's a chance in hell Sark is going to the NFL. He went up there, got his PP slapped, and came running back as fast as he could. So I don't think there's any chance of that happening. But yeah, it's interesting to see. We'll see how that plays out. But this one, we got a weird one. This is that weird one for me. I've called an upset. Obviously, I think SMU is going to take this game. And I think that's entirely dependent on how Carson Beck doesn't play. If we see a bunch of interceptions, if we see him making bad decisions, if we see a lot of that stuff, if we start seeing them lean into the running game, I think this is going to fall into this SMU's trap immediately. They're at home. SMU is very good in conference play this year. They're at the top of the bracket for a reason. This is a prove it game. This is absolutely a prove it game. And it could turn out to be one of those whitewash games where Carson Beck comes out and looks like a Heisman, throws 6 touchdowns, and it's 63-3 in the fourth. But I don't think that's what we're going to see. The over-under was 10.5 when we made our picks. I don't know, any upset if they're going to win by 10. I don't see that happening. I think this is going to be a tight game. I do. I think it's going to be tight. I think it's going to go over. I think we're going to see a bunch of points scored here. And I think the fact that Carson Wentz is going to be forced to have to score all those points, you're going to see him turn into that pick machine we saw a couple weeks ago. Uh, that's my hot take. I'm obviously not a Carson Beck guy. The only time I liked Miami is when Jimmy Johnson was there. So I don't have a whole lot of skin in the game, but I like what SMU's doing this year. I feel like they're a complete team. They good on both sides of the ball. They've got good linebackers. Their quarterback's a stud. He's got legs. He can move. They have the potential of being a big problem for Miami, and I think that's what we're going to see. I called it on tape on Tuesday, and I'm going to stand on it now. I think this is an over game. I think it's a shootout, and I think Miami loses. And I'd love to hear what the dude's got to say about it.
Well, I'm glad that you made the point of talking about the SMU secondary. They got Ahmad Moses there. He's ranked number 11 right now in the nation for interceptions. And that is a safety that is going to the NFL. You will absolutely see him there. Hopefully the Raiders get him, but that would be great. No, I really do think I'm always scouting for my Raiders. And he absolutely is a piece that would fit the puzzle there and absolutely complement the team. So he's one of those people I have my eye on. And then the other one, this is bonus for all y'all. The other one that fits that would be defensive back from Marshall. He usually plays on the strong side there, but his name is Boogie Trotter. Love the name. Love what he puts out on the field. And like I said, he's leading the nation right now. So that's my other Raiders pick. But to this game, I think the Hurricanes still take it. I think there is enough weapons on the offensive front if Carson, can't get those eyes where he needs to. I think they still have a decent enough core of receivers that can make things happen if the ball is not thrown perfectly. I think their line is not the best, but it is enough to get pass protection. It is enough to push forward and get a few yards scratched out on the ground every time that you need to. And I think that the size difference between them, Miami versus SMU, you put pound for pound, you're looking at 15 to 20 pounds outmatched in almost every position in every matchup. So I just think that is the game that we're going to see. I would love to see the Mustangs come out and stomp all over the Hurricanes, but I do not see that coming out here. So I cannot endorse your upset.
What are you thinking, GB?
I'm going to jump on that too. I mean, I like obviously Rhett Lashley as an Auburn fan, but I don't see this from SMU, and I feel like they've really had a topsy-turvy performance this season. Maybe y'all are seeing something different. I mean, you got big wins like they had over Clemson on the road, but then a huge loss at home against Baylor and a massive shootout in week one, which obviously teams are very different from week one. Take Alabama, for example.
Well, and Clemson's
but that too. But then they had a close loss last week to Wake Forest. So I don't see the Mustangs equipped with the tools or the consistency to pull up the upset against Miami, that like you're predicting, Brian. And after the loss to Louisville 2 weeks ago, Miami bounced back with a pretty definitive win over Stanford. I know you're going to say Stanford, why do they matter? But they outscored them by 35 points. Miami needs to win out this season to keep their playoff hopes alive. And with Georgia Tech and Virginia currently leading the ACC with perfect conference records, I feel like the Hurricanes have to win and they have to cover the 2.5 points today. So I'm going to say that they cover and that they're going to go over. So I'm going to have to jump on the Rista bandwagon for this week.
It's interesting you said that about Miami. Right now, they are, if you're voting on who's going to be the winner of the big dance at the end, putting money on it, they have the 8th most likely chance. And I don't necessarily agree with that at all.
Right.
But if you really want, we could spend an hour breaking that down. I'll just go ahead and say number 5, Notre Dame. So just give you some perspective on that, right?
We always got to talk about Beck's eyes and hate on Notre Dame every single episode. These are two things that we have to do, it seems like.
That's sad for me because I've never been a Notre Dame hater. I'm actually been a closet Notre Dame fan for most of my life, but this
What?
year just pissed me off, man. It just
Yeah, the
did.
beginning.
What they did with the rankings and they were 0-2 and ranked what, 20th? It just irritated me to no end. So until this is all over, I'm going to talk crap about them. We'll etch a sketch it next year and I'll be a little nicer. But right now,
Well, look,
uh,
it always does come down to money at the end of the day.
yeah.
Right.
And the Saudis, they purchased a certain franchise. They're putting a lot out there, and they have a lot of money in three particular coaches that have their likeness obviously sold and all that.
Hmm.
And one of them would be Sark, we just talked about. I think that's why you're getting some of that stuff staying in there. And then who are the other two, though? We got the Ducks and we got old Notre Dame sitting
Mm.
up there. So I think all of those are going to be artificially propped up in media regardless this season and next season, because that will be next season's gameplay. I think if you're looking at college football playoffs right now, you want to talk about locked in. I'm going Ohio State,
Hmm.
Indiana,
Yeah.
Alabama, uh, Texas A&M.
Yeah.
We'll go Ole
Ole
Miss, Vandy, Oregon. Was that 7? And we'll go with. I'm gonna put Texas Tech in there to round it out as my 8.
Wow. Okay. That's
And then I
solid.
think close behind them, you're gonna have your next SEC person fighting for that, and that, pick an SEC team. That's gonna be Tennessee, Georgia, probably scrapping it out there.
I don't disagree with that list. I do think Georgia Tech sneaks in there, though.
This week for
We'll
Georgia
see.
Tech, I need to see them really flex to
Mhm.
solidify. All right, y'all are here to play.
And I took that
Until
pick in
that,
our picks. I said they were going to do it, so we'll see.
Yeah, I'm excited for their matchup with Georgia.
Well, speaking of Georgia, speaking of Georgia, Georgia's going to the swamp, baby. It's about to get a little sticky down there, I think. Ooh,
Yeah.
swamp butt? What? Uh, this is another weird one. It's Florida. It's Georgia. It's a rivalry. They're in the swamp. And I mean, Lagway's been so hit or miss this year. The whole team, the coach and stuff. They've got so
the whole
much going
faithful.
on. Yeah, it's just it's hard to put any money backing anything Florida positive right now. It's kind of a crap show over there, and you just what's going to happen? I don't know who's going to be the coach. I don't know. Is Lagway? I don't know. Just don't know. That being said, all that crapola will say I think has a chance of maybe off-putting Georgia in the first half. I think the first half of this football game is pretty close. I think it's the back and forth kind of stuff. But I think once Kirby makes his adjustments at halftime, they shift it in high gear and start to me just right away with this one. But
Okay.
I've definitely got Georgia covering. I think it's going to be an under game. I think we're going to see a lot of defense today. And if Gunnar Stockton doesn't come out and look like the Heisman candidate that he may or may not have been throughout the year, I don't see this as being a big money game. We'll say the Lagway's not doing all that good. He's shown flashes all year, but I think the media got to his head early, and he wasn't really focused on football as much as he could have, and maybe helped his team out a little bit. But they had one of the toughest schedules in football this year. It's just you can't have any missteps or screw ups or bad anything when you have the third or fourth or first strength of schedule in the entire country. You got to have your crap together, man.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate just because Kirby's one of the best coaches in football as far as I'm concerned. And as far as defensive minds, he's the guy. If you can get him to coach up your defense at a camp or get in his ear for a dinner and you want to learn about defense, that's the guy I'm going to right now. He is just so good at his halftime adjustments. They shut out 2 or 3 teams this year in the second half. Nothing was scored. So it's just I can't bet against Georgia here. I absolutely think they're going to win, but I do think it's going to be that under just because so much defense, and I think we're going to see a little bit of inconsistent quarterback play today, especially from Georgia. I think they're going to get loud in the swamp. They're going to try to keep these boys in it, But they lose like they've been losing and continue to lose and lose coaches and lose players and lose faith and lose hope. But we'll see, man. And I'd like to see what GB's got to say about this. We've all kind of had a big opinion on Florida this year.
Well, this is another one of those games where obviously rankings don't matter. Georgia versus Florida, it's always a big game. It always gets dirty. There's always a fight. And you look forward to it because that's what SEC football is about. You got a border battle here between Georgia and Florida. It's one to get excited for. I do think that things you got to keep in mind, they're both coming off a bye week. Florida's last game was a win at home against Mississippi State, and Georgia's was a huge win over arguably one of the best teams in the nation, Ole Miss. On paper, this should be an easy pick. I think Bulldogs over Gators covering and most likely, in my opinion, going over. But I will not touch. This is my forget it game. Do not bet on any part of this because take Sellers against Alabama. A quarterback that's shown flashes all throughout the season, have been able to produce, and that game he was playing out of his mind. I really feel like this could be Lagway's game to really tear into Georgia. Like you said, probably in the first half, but if he can do it in the second half too, it may end up being an upset for Georgia. And that's why my question for this week is this a trap game for the Dogs? What are y'all's opinions on that?
Well, I certainly could see that being a possibility. This is a game, I agree, I probably would not touch.
Yeah.
And as the week has gone on, I've leaned further into the Gators camp. I still think Georgia's going to come out. I think they're a solid team. And like I said, they need to win this. They need to keep their march going to the playoffs. But I think every point you just put out there is something that you should absolutely consider. I don't necessarily think the Bulldogs are going to cover. I think they're still going to win. But we'll see what shakes out here. I did want to give a quick update. I just got a text, and Arch is going to start today. He gave a thumbs up.
Well, then Texas will lose. I had it written down. You can check my notes. I said if Caldwell starts, they win. If Arch plays,
he doesn't mean it, Arch.
Sorry, buddy.
Oh, jeez.
And real quick point on this: the Florida Gators are the number 2 bubble team right now, meaning they all got votes and they're right on the cusp of breaking into the top 25. So, I mean, a victory over Georgia, you would absolutely see them rise higher, probably than anybody else this week with a victory.
Right. You've always been staying on top of those bubble teams. Now that you said that, I'm even more curious. Not that I wasn't going to watch this game anyway, but I definitely want to see how this one pans out.
Yeah, this will be a good one to watch.
Yeah. And I know Coach will be watching intently as he's a big Bulldogs fan himself. But don't we have another SEC matchup coming up next?
We do, and I think this has a potential of being a really good football game, especially if Oklahoma's defense shows up. There's a lot on the line here for Tennessee because I think this is another one of those. This is one of those games that matter this week. They are obviously highly ranked. You got 18 and 14. Whoever loses this game ain't going to the playoffs. I'll come out and stand on that. And especially if you lose bad, you might not even be ranked anymore. So we'll see how that washes out. I have got Tennessee winning this game. I've got them covering that 4.5 points. I'm not touching the over-under because I don't know which defense is going to show up for Oklahoma. If Oklahoma's lights-out defense shows up, that's giving up nothing, no running, no rushing, no nothing, no passes, no anything. This is going to be one of those under games, and it's going to be an ugly one. And, I like defensive games. I watch that all day. But, as far as the mass population, they want to see people scoring points and running down the field and getting their touchdowns and all that stuff. I love to see good coaching, good football play, people doing their jobs, efficiency, no mistakes. And that kind of stuff means there's not going to be a lot of points scored. Tennessee's going to win, though. I've just not seen enough out of Oklahoma this year. They've been talked about. They've been kept relevant. Their quarterback has been this. His quarterback's been that. I'm not a big fan of Mateers anymore. He was talked up so heavy. I think he should have stayed sitting on the bench when his finger was hurt and let it heal up properly. I think rushing back absolutely damaged his stock. he didn't do himself any favors this year. We'll say that. Okay. I mean, he shows flashes where he's really good, but I didn't like him coming back so fast from that injury. I mean, he's literally bleeding on the field that game and going back and getting taped up every other play. It's just
Like a
no.
man.
I mean, I get it. You want to play through pain, but are you benefiting and is the team
Right.
benefiting from you being in there? And
Are you doing damage to yourself
yeah,
and the team?
you're it's just it's a snowball downhill, and it has snowballed downhill. And the factor that they're where they are right now, I think, has a lot to do with the coaching. I think their head coach is very good, and he's a very good defensive mind. He's up there with Kirby as far as I'm concerned. He does a good job with stuff. But man, Joey Aguilar.
Unbelievable amount of passing yards, 2,300 passing
Yeah,
yards.
boy is showing out.
That guy is he know how to play quarterback position very well.
Number 4 offensive leader in the nation right now.
Yeah. And I think that's your difference maker in this game. I think he's gonna have himself one. I do. So Tennessee wins, Tennessee covers, not touching the over under. Wouldn't bet on that at all. And I want to see what GB's got to say about this one too.
Well, we're already talking about Tennessee's offense, and I think what I saw was that they're second overall in the nation, which meanwhile their defense though is 110th.
Yeah.
With shootouts on a almost weekly basis. Every single one of their games is them winning just because they're scoring more points, not because their defense has made the stops that they need to make. The Sooners defense on the flip side of this, as you just mentioned, talking about Brent, is 6th nationally, while their offense is still 28th, which we talked about Mateer. I mean, I was one of the ones saying he is my Heisman pick early on in the first couple of weeks until he got to this game. And then obviously when that happened, getting hurt in surgery, he has not played the same since. And as the dude said, is it hurting more than it's helping to have him in that position? But overall, I feel like the game boils down to where are we at to decide who's going to pull this one out. And we're at Neyland Stadium. And because of that, I got the Volunteers over the Sooners. They will cover, and they will go over that 56.5 points because, like we said, it's shootouts with Tennessee. Dude, what are your thoughts?
I'm with you on that. I think looking at the coaches, Josh and Brent, they're both up there, in top 20 in terms of buyouts to get out there. They're both locked in.
Yeah.
That being said, there already are some whispers about Brent possibly being out the door. And it seems like every team is willing to throw, tens of millions of dollars down the dumpster every other week. But I mean, I think he's 37 million is his buyout, which is a lot. That might be what they need. I think they need to stick him with the program, save that money and ride it out. This season, though, they are not making the playoffs. They are not winning this game. Put your money on that. Calling it. Easy day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm with all that for sure. I do like Venables though. I think he's a good defensive coach. I think he'd be a good DC for anybody in the country. So he'll land on his feet wherever he goes.
For sure. And I hate it for the students that are forking out continually higher and higher tuition prices to pay for all of these coaches.
No
I
kidding,
definitely
man.
would say if your children are approaching the college age that you need to be starting to factor which university has the biggest buyouts for their coaches.
Well, if you're paying attention to the LSU stuff, you'll come to find out that some of these football teams are hooked into the state. And if there's a buyout and maybe we don't have enough money, the taxpayers get to make the buyout.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to be fair, the governor is kind of putting his nose in a situation where he legally shouldn't really be, but I understand where he's coming from. I understand that when you have these decisions that one could say objectively are poor and they keep compounding, there is a time where you need to step in for the greater good of the people that you represent. And one good thing possibly that he was trying to highlight is the fact that it's not just one person making a mistake here and it's not just one greedy guy here, that it seems to be there's a connection that this same agent represents all these people at Texas A&M, all these people at LSU, coaches and players, which I think there should already be a rule like in the NFL. Hey, we don't do that because there's a blatant conflict of interest there. And if I'm not going to say any names because I don't want to get sued, But you can look all this up yourself. And if you go back in time a little bit, you'll see that he actually kind of got pushed out of working with the NFL so much because there were a lot of allegations at the Chicago Bears. A certain gentleman running a good old boys club type thing. Well, you want this guy, you're going to have to take this guy too, and give them all this much money. And once again, coaches and players all together. There was also some racial allegations that he was exclusively promoting white people and not anybody from other races. And then also there's the fact that all the coaches, players that are represented all went to Jesuit Catholic high schools, just like that particular agent. And then that is also the biggest group that is funding Texas A&M, Notre Dame. It's just interesting.
We're trending into a different podcast.
Well, not necessarily. This is all blatant out there sports stuff. And this is the governor of a state literally saying, hey, this guy is doing this thing that is illegal and it is hurting the people of my state. So you don't get to do this anymore. You don't get to do this anymore. We will have a board that will vote on this. And realistically, there needs to be some guardrails put into college football at this point for a variety of levels. I mean, there needs to be caps for pay for each different thing. There needs to be caps on these buyouts. Kirby Smart's buyout is $105 million. Can you imagine getting paid over $100 million to not work?
Jimbo knows. What's A&M on the hook for another 4 or 5 years with his freaking buyout, man? I mean, he could be chilling in Cancun. He doesn't have to do anything ever again, ever. He can just do whatever he wants to do and just live off that mailbox money, you know?
I think I saw
But the
him
thing is, you don't want to live
the-
off mailbox money. It's people
Right.
aggrandize
You wanna
that.
have a good
That's a miserable way to go, dude. You got to be doing what you love. You got to always be working. You got to always be putting energy into something. But it's got to be something that you enjoy, something that you get back from. So you don't want to be slaving away to be the guy who's the knob polisher at the knob factory, and every day you're just polishing this knob, polish this knob. It's a metaphor. Polish this knob, and then, do what you like doing. And never mind. We're not going to go further with that.
Let's jump back into the Bearcats and the Utes coming up because I want to talk about the game because I have a different opinion than it seems like the rest of this entire squad. I see that the dude Brian and Rista, y'all picked Cincy to win this game, and that kind of got me. Actually, I picked my picks before I rewatched the show, but I will say this: I went back and rewatched the Utah versus BYU game from 2 weeks ago, which BYU is one of those teams where now it's hard for me to deny why they're in the top 10. Watching their quarterback play that specific game, he's really got me behind. Big physical quarterback that can actually go and plow through a couple linebackers to get some touchdowns. But aside from BYU, Utah hung in with the Cougars despite costly turnovers and being on the road. And that was a 3-point difference in that game. And that game could have very easily gone the other way. And then we'd be talking about an undefeated Utah coming up against the Bearcats, which I feel like would be a different conversation. And Cincinnati, on the other hand, they're on a 7-game winning streak, and they've not shown me much that makes me convinced that they're going to topple Utah today. So I got Utah covering the 7.5 points.
Wow.
And I got them going over. I think there was at 57.5 points. So tell me why y'all are wrong. Go ahead.
Why we're wrong? I can tell you why you're wrong. I can't logically say stuff that is not true. I will say this Cincinnati game, if it does not go the way that I am predicting, then you really have to turn your eye to BYU and put them in the playoff rank. I think they would be a contender at that point. But on that same token, I think Utah has been vastly hyped up. I think BYU is another Jesuit thing that has been artificially hyped up. Their head coach is also represented by that agent, just saying.
Oh, no.
So,
Trouble.
You got to look at these things.
It's true.
It's all connected.
But I do think there is potential for that upset to not go. It's not a solid lock. It is more likely in my mind.
Fair. What about you, Brian?
this one was a tough one for me because I've been high on Cincinnati all year. I
Right.
feel like they've done a good job. That program's really turned things around from what it's been in the past. I mean, 20 years. I don't really, I can't remember saying the Bearcats are going to win it this year. That not in my lifetime, but they've done a good job. They've got a good offense. They've got a good defense. When they've looked bad or lost that game, it's because they shot themselves in the foot. It was
Mm.
self-inflicted damage. It wasn't because the other team did so much of this or so much of that. Anytime they've not looked good, it's been their fault. So I think they are very much in control of their destiny. I said it in the live pick show that whoever loses this game will not be in the playoffs.
Right.
It's just this is one of those big games. This game matters this week. This will be one worth watching. I think this is going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be an over game. Uh, but I'm taking Cincinnati to win. And if Cincinnati doesn't win, to both of y'all's point, you've got to really look at Utah in a different kind of light. They're fast, man. They're just so fast. They got potential either way, to your point, but I don't see Utah winning this game. I think the Bearcats shifted gears when they got beat. I think they've corrected all those issues. I think the coaching is solid enough there to help them get through this game if there are mistakes. And I don't see the Utes making a run. So I think the Utes lose. I think that's the end of their season. They'll be looking for a good bowl game somewhere, and the Bearcats come out on top.
So with Utah, I see this. If Utah pulls this out, they got 3 more games on the schedule that they could potentially win, and they look like a very solid team. Utah loses this, they got 3 games on the schedule that looks like they could very well lose and be an irrelevant team.
Ooh.
I'm just saying, you got Baylor,
Mm-hmm.
Kansas State, Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
All teams that are unranked, all teams that are not write-off teams.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, if you're looking at it, you expect to pull that out. Cincinnati does this, especially if they do it handedly. You're looking at that in a whole different light,
Right. Mm-hmm.
which then takes you to BYU. They'll get their chance to play Cincy. That's coming up.
Yep.
They'll be playing Texas Tech. I think we know how that's going to come out. And then they also got what? TCU. Yeah, TCU, Cincy, and then UCF. So that's another thing where right now you might be expecting them to wrap it out and possibly go undefeated. But Cincy beats Utah. Maybe not so much. Texas Tech beats them today. Then you start saying, well, Cincy's probably going to beat BYU. BYU is a 2-loss team. And maybe you're even like, you know what? TCU might have a chance against them. And I'm just saying,
No, I'm with you 100%, especially the Texas Tech game. I mean, knowing that matchup is coming up, Texas Tech is one of those teams that you and I have both been keeping a very close eye on all this season and are deserving to be in the conversation. BYU has not been one of those teams. I've bet against them every single week and been wrong. So I think that they are proving to me that I don't know what I'm talking about, at least in regards to their program, and that they deserve a chance. And if they come out and beat Texas Tech next week, there is no arguing who they are. And then they come out and then they play Cincinnati 2 weeks after that. So They're absolutely going to be knocking on the door of these, I'd say maybe 6 to 7 teams that we seem to universally agree deserve the playoff run.
Yeah, I agree with all that, man. I think the next couple of weeks are going to be some really good football. I think those are going to be very good games to watch. And I mean, it'll all come out in the wash, but I like Texas Tech too. That team is, boy, they're stout. They spent a lot of money this year. That defense looks pretty dang good. So,
and they spent a lot of money.
And they spend a lot of money. We keep coming back to that money thing. It seems like
Spared no expense.
you spend the money, football stuff, spend the money, football.
Spend to win, spend to play.
Isn't that just a sad thing though, that you got to have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars just to keep your team relevant
it'll get
and in the polls, and they got to put guardrails on this crap, man. They have to. This is getting ridiculous. There's a reason there's all those rules in the NFL because they already cheat as much as they can. They can't do it with the money too. It's just they've got to do something about it, because I like the one thing about the NIL. It's given other teams a chance to be relevant and to spend the money, but not everybody has an oil field donor. Not everybody has somebody that owns half of what, nobody's got the billionaire Nike and all this. Not everybody has those donors. I mean, look at even Alabama. They had to fork in pretty deep to go get DeBoer, and they knew it. And they have not been running at a profit, we'll say. We lost a lot of money last year on our football program.
Well,
So
I
it's
think
just,
it's paid out though. Right now, they're number 3 in terms of this team's going to win the playoffs, and that's
sure.
as an Alabama fan, I would think that's where you want to be. You want to
Right.
Well, sure.
absolutely be in that contention. So I think it has panned out for them, but it's very interesting because if you were to go to the first week of this season, the big debate is, well, is DeBoer going to get fired? Should we get fired so Alabama has a chance this season? And then it just sometimes you don't need to act so impulsively.
Yeah, agreed. And that's sad too. I mean, Lane Kiffin's been pretty big on that. Is these college coaches got 2 years tops. If you're not moving in the right direction in 2 years, by year 3, you're on the freaking hot seat, man. And it doesn't matter how much they paid you, how much is left on your contract. It's just, it seems like these donors have come up to these ADs and they're like, hey, this isn't working. Me and my buddy will cover it. Make this happen. And it's just, they're lighting money on fire. And in a lot of cases, these coaches aren't getting a fair rub, and they go somewhere else and they're successful. So
A fair rub? I don't get fire me and give me $100 million. Fair?
Fair rub being a chance to build the team, bring in what you need, and a lot of those
that depends on
programs
the
have
coach.
buffer rails on that too.
Well, that depends
Yeah, but I
on
don't
the
think
coach.
you get the
take somebody like
opportunity to do it anymore.
Oh, okay.
I was just gonna say, I don't think you get the same opportunities. I mean, look at Dabo, who used to be the conversation of him and Saban every single year, year after year, who's going to win the national championship. But if you don't make the adjustments to how the NIL is functioning, not everybody's going to be able to get the same pool to build the team that they want to set up. You're getting, like, take Auburn, for example. You got Hugh Freeze is one of those coaches that's on his 3rd year, and he's had a little bit of opportunity to put some pieces into place, but he's only been able to get a couple because you're getting outbid by these bigger universities that are putting the huge programs together. So as both of y'all have said, unless we can get to the point where there are guardrails and caps, it's not going to be an even playing field. We're just going to keep chopping coaches off left and right until you get somebody who sticks.
I think there are still enough hometown boys, enough people who have the team that they like. Especially take something like LSU. There are so many people who are, I was born to wear that purple and gold. I mean, the day after they fired Brian Kelly, they got a 3-star recruit, So that's showing you that people are going to play there regardless of who is coaching. And then on the Brian Kelly note, that is a coach who has had a more than fair rub, because that is somebody who has absolutely no interest in building the team or anything at all. That is somebody who is very much Brian Kelly is about Brian Kelly. I got my nut. I'm good. There was a big controversy at Notre Dame, and former players, coaches that worked with him, all said this. And LSU was like, no, he's going to be good here. And then that's the first coach that they've got there and came right in and then didn't give him a natty. Look at every other LSU coach we've had the last 4. Get him in there within a couple of years, we'll get a natty.
Not this time.
No.
Not this time. Well, we're getting to the end of our segment here. You guys got anything you want to add before we close it out?
Go ahead, dude.
I would say this game, the Cincy game, that is probably going to be the most revealing game for me this week. And I think that the Georgia-Florida game might end up being the most entertaining game. But that being said, I'm going to be watching as much as I can. I will absolutely be seeing what's going on in the Ohio State-Penn State game. That could turn into a very, very interesting watch. There's a lot of potential for some very good football today. So it's going to be a good Saturday for sure.
Yeah, I agree with those. And, of course, the Vandy, Texas game, that's pretty big news if Arch comes out and starts. Is he just trying to send a message with Pavia? I liked Caldwell, former Trojan coach, former Trojan QB, which I've got some bias there as well. I really wanted to see him start this day out, but with Arch coming in, that's not giving me good feelings. The only other thing I'll add is that Auburn in Kentucky, Auburn will not cover, but it will be up under, and they will win.
Okay. I'm with you, fellas. Uh, no, I agree. Vandy game's going to be good. I'm excited to watch that one. I completely agree with the dude. I think that Georgia game has a potential of being a really good game to watch. And that Cincy game, that is going to be a tell-all for both teams. So I
Well,
think we
not
got
just
some
for
good
those teams;
football.
it's for the
The ones
teams
they
that they
played.
like
Oh yeah,
BYU, Utah.
absolutely. Yep, yep. It'll give credit to some and take some away from others, depending on how that shakes out. But
For sure.
we'll see. I will say, don't forget to join us Tuesday. We like to do our live pick top 25 show. Come see us then. And as always, we're here Saturday morning trying to give you a pregame before the game. So appreciate you guys being with us, and we can't wait to see you next time.
Yes, sir. Thanks, folks.